So in case it's not crystal clear by this point, a year and a half in, we have left the realm of science and we're just making things up to hurt people who may disagree with us. The powerful are doing whatever they feel like doing in the name of science and public health because they can, because nobody's stopping them. In Australia, where there are no restraints at all apparently, the country has declared a state of martial law. And now the peasants of Australia have to find a way to drink alcohol through their face masks. And they are.
There will be no removal of masks to consume alcohol outdoors. So you will no longer be able to remove your mask to drink a cocktail at a pop-up beer garden on a footpath as part of a pub crawl.
It's just funny because if you're going along with that, the joke's on you. But that's not even the craziest thing going on in Australia right now. The city of Melbourne just announced, quote, if you live in a larger household, such as a share house or with extended family, you can no longer exercise with all members of your household, end quote. Well, that's funny because exercise is the one thing that might help with COVID. It combats obesity. Obesity is the most serious comorbidity of COVID. In other words, it's the reason you're most likely to die, other than age, of COVID. So, of course, they're making it much harder to do. Let's close the gyms. Don't let people exercise together. You can still drink, though. You just have to do it through your double masks. It's a kind of filter.
Boom shakalaka, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters around the world. It is your boy, Chris Yule, a.k.a. the Esoteric Noetic, a.k.a. the Chocolate Nubian Soul Brother from Ghana, West Africa, dropping the Decimated truth bombs here in Melbourne, Australia. I'm your favorite trans backside. Identify that I've taken the boom shakalaka, even though I haven't. And I'm on team meh, so you know you can rhyme me. Always do as I'm told. Ladies and gentlemen, freaks and geeks, be sure to like the video, subscribe, click on the bell, tell your friends, tell your mom, drop us some comments and let us know what you think. Give us a subscribe to the main channel, that's the Esoteric Noetic, the Chris Yule Journey, if you have not done so already. And also follow us on the Esoteric Noetic, that's the backup channel that you might be watching us on, just in case I'll get another strike and get on the naughty corner. Well, if I get another strike, it'll be all over Red Rover from me. That's why it's so important for you guys to follow us on the Telegram and all other avenues. Buy us a coffee, support us. If I hit 2,000 subscribers on the main channel, I'm actually going to be setting up a Patreon account, which you can support us on. Ooh. But let's get to business. We are at a crossroads right now. We are at a point in time where we can go in either of one direction. Two directions, obviously, as a crossroad would imply. We can go on the path of more and more restrictions, the imposition of mandatory face masks, mandatory boom shakalakas, mandatory everything. Before you can leave your home, you need to get the permission from the popo, from the government. And this is not just going to apply to the boom shakalaka or the roner. I mean, whenever has the government given itself more powers only to give it back to people? No, we're going to see this kind of stuff most likely apply to other things. Perhaps some other boogeyman down the road. Perhaps some climate change protocols. Now you guys have to stay locked down in your homes in order to reduce global emissions. And then we'll have the Supreme Court ruling, oh, look, it's proportionate. Yeah, it's a restriction of human rights, like they have said with the curfew. They said last year when Daniel Andrews was taken to court. But they'll just say, oh, it's proportionate. We can go down this road where Human 2.0 will emerge, where we will be barcoded. We will have boom shakalakas implemented on a regular basis. And we will have a world where freedom, sovereignty is nothing but the figment of an archaic society from far gone. Or we can move into a society, we can move into a reality where we resist the tyranny. We say nay to tyranny, where we awaken into this understanding of what is really going on in the world and value our life, our liberty, our freedom, where we start valuing each other, we see each other, and we treat others as we would like to be treated, with respect for their own sovereignty. There is an efflorescence of consciousness where people understand that we are not only denizens of this planet, we are this planet. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the options that fall on each and every single human being. And depending on how you navigate yourself in these times, you are going to see this reality emerge. But the reality is not set in stone. The future is not here. The future does not exist. The future is nothing but a fictitious reality. People that base their laws on the future say things like, you must be locked down in your home because of what might happen in the future. They're living in a dream spell. The future does not exist. As Master Yoda once said,
You should be mindful of the future and the past, but not at the cost of the present.
Not at the cost of the present. Because the present is the moment that we are all in. It is the only moment that matters. Yes, we should all be mindful of past, learn from the past, realize that we have been here before, make no mistake about it. Whether it was the southern plantation owners that were making arguments that you should be locked up in your home as a slave owner, because if we were to give you your freedom, well, that would ruin the economy. Or whether it was even further back, where the ancient Romans were essentially enslaving the gladiators and all the plebs, all in the interests of Rome, for the glory of Rome. But ladies and gentlemen, it is incumbent upon each and every single one of us to be the change that we want to see in the world, to beat to the rhythm of our own heart, to realize that by what we do in these times, our actions echo through to the universe, echo onto infinity, and history will remember you. Oh! Look, I want to share something with you guys. One of the things that has really helped me is being that which I am, unashamedly. You find people are drawn to you. Vibes speak louder than words, and you find that when you act in accordance to who you really are, you find people will gravitate to you, the right kind of people. It's much better to be around people of your own tribe that actually appreciate you, respect you, than being around people that secretively want to see you locked up in your home. Secretively will say these platitudes like, oh, I love you, but no, I don't want you walking around the street and endangering me. I don't want you to have your freedom. And this is what we're seeing. And I, thank God, have found over the last few months to be curating a world where I am surrounded by beautiful souls like yourself that have been coming onto my Telegram, and I've met amazing people that have come into my life and have enriched my life with their love of freedom and their respect for many of the values that I have. I salute all of you. Oh, I want to talk about some mind control here. I want to talk about one of the most effective tools that has been used to enslave the masses throughout all of history. And I'm sure you guys are thinking, oh, I've heard it all before, Chris Shaw. I know about the Milgram experiment. I know about Ash conformity. I'm no newbie to all of this stuff. Well, I would invite you to think about this. One of the most powerful tools that is being used right now to control the masses is something that has been used throughout all of history. I think of the word decimation. You'll notice that was the title of this video. The fact that we are seeing people's lives decimated, people being decimated for that matter, because of the imposition of lockdowns, restrictions. Unequivocally, the suicide rates have skyrocketed. We've had record calls to lifelines in Australia. Of course, we have situations where people are being denied access to their loved ones, which obviously adds to the mental issues. We have people that are not able to go to what we call elective surgery when it may be something that is very serious, all being denied because they haven't taken the boom shakalaka. All of these restrictions that are in play. We see the world being decimated in many ways. Now, of course, the narrative is that the world is being decimated by the Rona. But one of the ways in which we are seeing decimation that doesn't really seem to be spoken about, and this applies to the origins of the word decimation. What's interesting is the word decimation is derived from the Latin word decimato. In ancient Rome, one of the most effective tools that would be used to control people was something they would do to the cohorts. The word decimation is derived from decimato, which essentially deals with how the Romans would kill 1/10 of their cohort. A cohort is roughly 480 soldiers. So they would kill these people. You want to know why? Because they were not following orders. Because they had either fled, they were deserters, or perhaps they were not chasing Christians, killing the Christians or killing the slaves. They were disobeying whatever orders they were given in order to make Rome a great state. And what this would do, by killing 1/10 of the cohort, if one single person disobeyed an order or did something that was egregious, is it would create fear, a tremendous sense of fear in everyone. What will happen not only to me, but my brothers and sisters in arms? And this is a powerful, powerful psychological tool. This same thing was implemented with the slaves. If a slave ran away, if a gladiator decided to run away, his entire group of friends or family would be killed. Put yourself in that situation. In fact, you can, because we're already here. We're seeing this stuff happen now. You imagine what happens to your friends and family if you don't go along with the mandates. This is the same thing that is implemented in North Korea. People that flee have their families killed. And what do we see here? In Australia, mate, all around the world, if you do not obey these restrictions, well, you're a bad person. We're going to extend the lockdowns for everyone. We're going to impose even more restrictions. All because you're doing the wrong thing. And by the wrong thing, I mean the right thing. By actually valuing your freedom, not actually wanting to be incarcerated in your homes because it is unlawful, it is immoral, not wanting to be forcibly boom shakalaka'd, by actually resisting this, by actually having the courage to go out and stand for truth, liberty, justice, freedom from aggression, you are made out to be selfish, when in actuality, the selfish people are those that are advocating for these lockdowns, realizing that it may very well be destroying people's businesses, destroying people's livelihoods, preventing people from being able to see their loved ones. And this is how it works. I hear so many people telling me that they're worried about what's going to happen to their friends and family. What if they go to a rally and a police officer arrests them or beats them down like the thug they are? What'll happen to you as a slave if you decide to break out? What will a Roman do? He shall take his sword and not only plunge it into your heart, but plunge it into the heart of your families. These kind of tactics that are based in fear are what governments have used in order to manipulate people. And the repercussions that may befall not only you, but your friends and family if you don't go in line with this stuff. It's a very powerful tool, right? Because we all fear the consequences. I'd imagine there are many of us that are staunch proponents of freedom, of liberty, that would find themselves in a situation where they're given the option of either doing the right thing, behaving, being part of the Borg, I will stay together by staying apart, and thus being rewarded with riches. Perhaps they're paid some kind of social security benefits, or they're put into places of power by not speaking up. There are all of these tactics that are used to keep people in line. The carrot and stick mentality will either punish you or we will reward you if you do the right thing. But of course, as soon as you speak out, as soon as you start these slave rebellions like Spartacus, of course, you get punished. And ladies and gentlemen, what is the best way out of this? Because this is what it comes down to. How do we resolve this problem, Krishna? Because I don't want to see my friends and family suffer because of my actions, Krishna. And that's understandable. But as every great figure in history has had to realize, you cannot allow the consequences, the potential consequences, to prevent you from doing that which is right. David Icke speaks about this with his concept of the renegade mind. Not doing anything which you know to be inherently wrong. This is the mindset of a warrior king, someone that rules himself, someone that does that which is right regardless of what fear-based consequences may arise. And this is the same concept that you find figures like Krishna, not yours truly, my name's Krishna, but talking about Krishna, the figure in ancient India, speaking about in the Mahabharata. In ancient India, there was this great battle that took place, even greater than what we're experiencing now. Of course, we've seen this situation emerge many times throughout history, where people have been forced to surrender their freedoms for the greater good, or essentially being enslaved in one form or another. And the epic of the Mahabharata was no different. Essentially, there was a war that was taking place between the factions of good and the factions of evil. And Krishna, when he was confronted by Arjuna, who was one of the main figures that was heading this battle, Krishna told Arjuna, who was apprehensive about the consequences that would befall him, having to go and do battle with his brothers and sisters that were against him, against freedom, against righteousness, fearing for their souls. Krishna advised Arjuna that you must do that which you must do, that you are entitled to your labor, but not the fruits of your labor. And essentially what that means is that you are entitled to do what you must do. You're not entitled to sow the benefits of it. And it's this mindset that requires you to focus on doing that which is right because it is inherently right, as opposed to focusing on what might happen because of it. You can either deal in the now, the present moment, what is actually befalling you right now, or you can deal in what might happen to you. And ladies and gentlemen, as I often say, the future is unknown. Anything might happen to you. We may die tomorrow. We may die 100 years from now, living in total and utter slavery. What matters is what you do in the moment because it is inherently right. Ladies and gentlemen, freaks and geeks, let that be a lesson to everyone right now that is in this situation where they're considering how to navigate these treacherous waters, these treacherous times where their light is being smothered by these dark forces. Remember that the truth shall set you free, that forces will come to your aid when you stand on the river of truth and you say no to tyranny. You will find that you will align yourself with people that align with your frequency. So remember to illuminate your minds with wisdom, strengthen your will with love, and purge all negative thought patterns from your existence. Remember that whereas we want to be practical, a lot of us are thinking about how to achieve peace. You cannot compromise your principles. If by having peace you need to surrender your light, your liberty, and find yourself in a situation where you were constantly giving ground to these leviathans, it is better to fight. It is better to stand for truth, stand for justice. Your chocolate Nubian soul brother is many things, but I am not about acquiescing to things that are inherently wrong, immoral. And fundamentally, whereas I believe in strategies, I think we all need to be mindful of what we are doing right now. We all have to live in this world, and we cannot always afford to put our necks on the line. I am not interested in living in a world where the government gets to decide whether or not it's proportionate to lock me in my home. I'm not interested in living in a society where we argue with our governments, with our rulers, on how much freedom we should have. I believe in freedom unequivocally, and this is what I am about. I am ultimately striving for this. You compromise with these tyrants, and you compromise yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy this rant, be sure to give us a like, tell your friends, tell your mom, and stay tuned for more wisdomatic truth bombs from your chocolate Nubian soul brother. Remember that there are 3 things that cannot remain hidden for long: the sun, the moon, and the wisdomatic truth bombs of your chocolate Nubian soul brother. Ow!
What is liberty?
What the? Who says you can't build muscle on a vegan diet?
What's it like being a hottie in the vegan community?
There are no political solutions, only technological ones.
The economics of the system don't allow multiple competing systems to survive.
Engineering, technology, these arts of humanity, they are magic.